being distinctive is more important than being, air quotes, good.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in our pal, Matt from Exhumed. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing good, man. It's Friday, got a new record out, sun's shining. What's to complain about?
There you go. In a dumpster fire world, we have good
Right.
things to look forward to, like a brand new Exhumed record. To the Dead is out today on your longtime label, Relapse Records. And just congratulations, first and foremost. Another banger, nothing less than, what's expected. But,
Thank you.
I appreciate that. First of all, you are like one of the hardest working people I know. You just came off, you tour and you do all these things going on, new record to promote and push. So we appreciate your time. But also, I appreciate that what you have done with Exhumed is from, every couple of years, you're trying to. You could make the same record over and over. Everybody knows the influences, everybody knows the talent of the band, but I appreciate that it seems like every time you come out with a new record, you have tried to expand and change the sound and be better than the last. I know it's very cliche to say my new record is the best one we've ever done, but this is gonna be up there in my opinion.
Well, thanks, man. I think that's the challenge at this point, as time goes on. When we were doing the first records, 20 something years ago now, the challenge was like, can we write a song that we like? Can we play said song? Can we record it in a way where people are going to be able to actually hear said song? And now those things are less of a challenge. And it's more about like, how can we stay true to our style and stay true to who we are, but not just deliver the same thing. I always kind of think of it like, if we're like a pizza parlor or whatever, you have longtime customers and it's going to be pizza, but at the same time, if it's just the same slice of pepperoni again and again and again, that's gonna be fucking boring. So, we gotta try, meat lovers, a veggie or whatever, you live in San Francisco now. So, some fucking Thai peanut sauce pizza, Thai chicken pizza is great. It's a true Californian here. But it's like, it's still fucking pizza, it's still Exhumed. We're not trying to like go too far afield, but we're trying to keep our own interests up as well after having done this for a long time. So I kind of feel like if you don't think your new album is your best or, has something, really significant about it, it's like, why fucking put it out?
So you already helped me with one of my segues for the end of the interview, but I was going to say, like, as a New Yorker and an East Coast guy, there is very little appealing pizza to me here in California as a whole, let alone the Bay Area. If you know a good spot in the Bay Area or the East Bay for a slice, do tell me.
I live now about 3 hours south of the Bay, so
Okay.
I'm really not hip on it. There's a place in San Jose, or there used to be, called Bogies, that I think is pretty good. I mean, I would never tell somebody from the East Coast this pizza's the shit. But I think it's pretty good. But San Jose is quite a ways from San Francisco.
No doubt. I get there once in a blue. Hesher Pizza just opened in Oakland, and they're like a metal themed pizza place, so a
Okay.
lot of people are talking about them. Uncle Vito's in Sacramento is across the street from Ace of Spades, eating there.
Okay.
New York pizza with New York wallpaper everywhere. Not bad, pretty good. Shout out Uncle Vito's. And then I'm not counting like Detroit pizza or
Right.
whatever.
No, no.
Like Squared Pie is pretty good. I would say a fair forgery of Midwest Detroit pizza.
Okay.
Crunchy, sort
I'm a
of a
big fan
square
of
and a
Detroit
crunchy
style.
crust. But
Yeah.
it's hard, man. It's hard for me. I
You've been
probably
to
should
North
stay away from
Beach.
the pizza, actually.
You've been in North Beach, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Escape from New York? Is that where you're
Yeah.
going? Yeah.
I mean, Escape from New York is pretty good.
They're okay. There is also one down the block
It's-
from Amoeba in Haight Ashbury.
yeah.
So you
Um,
could tell I'm not from here, Haight Ashbury. Like the hate. Like I do. I say SF in my emails and texts. People are like, dude, no, don't say
yeah,
SF, bro.
it's the city. Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm learning. I feel fortunate, a fortunate new son of the area. So thank you. Everybody has welcomed me. Everybody's been real good to me. But yeah, man, Exhumed stuff, not pizza stuff. Um, Though I have a pizza slice, I got like a satanic pizza patch on my vest. Die by the slice instead of the sword. You know, Slayer, always. So yeah, man, it's just another banger album, man. To the Dead. I love, where to begin. Again, any Exhumed record for me always begins with guitar work, right? Incredible riffs. And just, I have a side podcast that's not part of Ghost Cult where we just did a future episode on who's on the Mount Rushmore of death metal, and we talked about like what is the delineation of like the top 20 metal bands ever, and it's riffs. Initially, it's riffs. Vocalists change and vary in style,
Right.
but riffs from Chuck as your man Chuck, your hero, ours too, from all the way up to you and other people now, all these young buck bands who are killing it. It starts to me with riffs and songwriting.
That was always my approach. I mean, I'm a guitar player, so go figure. But our original drummer Cole and I, um, we always talked about it, and we still do from time to time. It's just like let the riff decide where things are going. That's sort of the driving thing. And most of my favorite bands, a lot of them, they're not associated with great drummers. Like Possessed, early, Mick Harris era, Napalm Death, or early Carcass, Repulsion, Metallica. These aren't bands that people are like, oh my God, the drumming, it's maybe the velocity or whatever, but it's not really like about the drums, it's about the guitar riffs. And yeah, so that's always been the approach that we've had. We're very fortunate to have Mike Hamilton on drums, who's, especially I think now that Deeds of Flesh has played a couple of shows, people are kind of remember like, oh yeah, this dude's like one of the best drummers out there doing this, and has been for a really long time. He's just been stuck in Exhumed playing fucking Slayer beats and blast beats, and that's it. But so it's not that I don't think the drums don't matter, but yeah, I just always start for the riff, and that's what caught me as a listener before I picked up an instrument.
I will die on this hill that there was a period of time in like 1988, 89 where Lars was the best drummer in the world. Nobody believes me. And for all the people who are like, where's the bass on Injustice for All? What you lost in bass, you gained in drumming and drum recording. So I'll go to hell on that
I'm a
forever.
I'm a big Lars fan. I don't know if I'd say he's the best drummer in the world, but here's what I'll say about Lars's drumming, and I think this is something people lose sight of, is that when you hear, you can hear five drummers play the same beat, and if one of them was Lars, you'd be like, yeah, that's him. And that is really, you know, beyond just being able to be possessing some sort of rudimentary ability. I think that's the most important thing. It's like, you listen to like the early Merciful Fate albums, and if you really wanted to sit there and like listen to what pitch is what or whatever, there's tons of notes that are sharp, there's tons of notes that are flat, there's harmonies that are out of tune. Who gives a fuck? It sounds awesome because it's King. And I think being distinctive is more important than being, air quotes, good. So it's just about like letting them know who you are and putting that out there. And Lars has huge balls, man. Just goes out on stage like, yep, this is it, man. And it fucking rules. So yeah.
Amen, brother. For real. Let's talk about band chemistry for a second, because I don't think it gets talked about enough, and it's hard to keep a band together as you have for multiple decades, and drummers explode like Spinal Tap, and people fuck off. But this lineup of the band, I think, is particularly special. And I don't know, whether it's this juju of guys or whatever it is. I don't want to get too woo woo here, but like, yeah, I don't, Ross or Leon, whatever it is in the past members, current members. There's something about this lineup to me that's like real sticky.
I agree, man. I try really hard to be objective about stuff because obviously, as you're in the middle of stuff, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't think it was good, and it's in my best interest to believe that it's good. But I really do think that this is the strongest lineup that we've had. This is the first time we've ever made two consecutive records with the exact same lineup, which is sort of embarrassing. But the thing is that we have we found a work rhythm that works really well, where we all have enough space to do whatever and have fun, and yet we all are, we have each other's backs, and we're like really, I find playing in different bands and touring with different bands and observing everybody's dynamic. I think Exhumed has, it has a dynamic that I would want. It has the one that works for me. When we're on tour, like, we eat a lot of meals together. We'll go around. If we're in a town early, we'll go around and go to record stores or comic stores or guitar stores. And, we'll talk about stuff. We'll build stuff together. you know, I use the metaphor that it's like when you go to Disneyland and you see like this family of 6 and they all made up shirts like Evan's family vacation. And you're like, look at these fucking dorks, but they're like having the best time out of everybody. That's kind of us. We're just like, yeah, man, we like each other a lot and we work together great. And we all think that each other is great. And yeah, if that's like lame, then cool. We're fucking lame, man. I'll be lame all day. So I think I do think that it is a big factor, you know, and there's a lot of trust that we have musically, you know, working wise, financially, every way. Like we all trust each other. And when you have that, it just makes it easier to concentrate on trying to kick butt, you know?
Right on. As I'm fond of saying, it's always the music business, not the music friendship. But if you can have that friendship, it's definitely helpful.
Sure.
And you know, there's a lot of bands out there with people who hate each other, and it shows. And if you can get along, you know, don't feel too bad about not, you know, you and everybody else having a hard time keeping the same lineup of people together year in and year out. So, you know, props to you for 2 in a row. Let's hope we go for 3. You know, you never know, but let's keep it going. Good stuff there. You know, so many things to unpack and discuss, but what I thought we would do a little track by track in honor of the release day while it's still fresh in your mind and you hopefully feel like talking about it. Whatever springs to mind that you want to share about the song, songwriting, everything.
Can I just say 2 things real quick before we get into that? Just to harken back to what we were talking about before I lose. Number 1 is I wanted to tell you that my wife has a tattoo of a pentagram of pizza slices. And number 2, you know, you were talking about the Yankees before we started recording, but I really think that band chemistry, like I don't watch that much sports anymore because the Raiders moved and they moved twice on me. So fuck that team, even though I can't think of another football team I would care about. And the Giants won a bunch of World Series and that was great. Now they suck and that's fine. But I still love sports and I love sports documentaries and, you know, like I love the 80s Lakers and the whole show and book and stuff. And I really think that like a band and a sports team aren't that different. You can take, you know, a group of people that have all the talents and they can go out and just be fine. Or you can take some people that maybe aren't individually amazing and they complement each other in a way that makes the whole more than the sum of its parts. And I think that that's kind of where we are now with Exhumed, that we have a good team, not just within the band, but, you know, we've had the same merchandiser for a few years. We had the same engineer for years. And we all care about the same things and we're all doing things for the same reason. And I think that has really benefited us. So anyway, I just thought it was worth remarking specifically because of what we said earlier.
That is a great analogy, and I did not realize when I moved here how hardcore people love the Warriors and Dubs everything. It is wild. And I guess we're going to lose the A's eventually because the team doesn't want to help the city of Oakland. They just want like they want a free stadium and they don't want to help the neighborhood.
You mean the Yankees farm team? Yeah.
Super fun. What's on your shirt, by the way?
Oh, Ruin. From Long Beach, but it's a picture of Snoop Dogg's.
Yeah. That's why I was like, what? Yeah. Wait, my brain does not. I know Ruin. I was like, my brain is not computing this shirt right now. Yeah. That's amazing.
I love the Dubs, but like, I miss the old fast break game, you know, and like the fact that they don't really do offensive rebounding.
Right. Basketball is not the same game anymore as it was, like even in the 90s. It's not remotely the same.
The lack of offensive rebounding just stresses me out. And they make all the fucking 3-pointers, so I guess it doesn't matter. And they're winning. Yeah. They're killing it. But every game, I'm like, there's nobody on the boards. Like, fuck, it's crazy.
If they had like a Rodman now, they'd never lose.
No, they'd be undefeated the whole season.
Basketball is terrible. I'm also a Knicks fan. So, you know, my life in that regard, all my other teams are great, and the Knicks won last before I was born, so I have no expectations of ever feeling good about them. They look like they got a little better this year. They look like they'll be better this year, but then again, no. You know, I know how it is. So it's like I can bullshit about my Yankees, and Giants have a couple of Super Bowls, and Rangers, and then it's like, fucking Knicks. God damn it. God damn. But anyway, it's cool. It's cool. Always been I love Curry. We lived in a time of this guy's. Forget LeBron. I think Curry's incredible. Let's do the track by track of the album before I forget, because we could just. I love talking to you so much. We could just go bananas on shit. So To the Dead drops today as we record this, and the first track is, I don't know, hopefully not butcher these song titles, but Putrescine and Cadaverine.
That is correct. Yes.
All right. Yes, one for me.
This, you know, Putrescine and Cadaverine, I realized after we had recorded the album, was a song title already used by my buddy Matt Widener in the county medical examiners. I sent him I sent him the demos, and he's like, dude, and I was like, oh fuck. But yeah, I thought it was a good album opener because it just sort of starts out with like your sort of like, hey, this is going to be an Exhumed album. Here's a big scream, here's a blast beat, drop out for some distorted bass, and maybe surprise people with the pitch shifted vocals and stuff. And it's a good kind of it's like your old fashioned like barn burner. You want to come out of the gate swinging, and I think this song, I think it does that, I hope, and sets the tone for the record.
Nice. Drained of Color is the second track.
This one I remember writing right after we got off tour with Necrot and Gatecreeper. I think the first riff, just kind of subconsciously hearing Gatecreeper every night with their sort of like post bolt thrower groove. I'm a big bolt thrower fan because my ears work. And I was just like sat down and I was like, where'd that come from? And I was like, oh yeah, probably there. And then in the middle of the song, there's some sort of like added beats at the end of Measures, which is not too dissimilar from what Necrot does, although we did it in a slightly different way. But I felt like with this song, Relapse, wanted a single. It was between this song and the first song, and I was like, well, we always have the first song be the single. And I feel like with this sort of extended intro and stuff, it might be a little bit more novel for people, and we did a video for it, which was a lot of fun. It's kind of a Hammer horror, Universal Monsters kind of thing. And I think it's the best video that Exhumed has done so far. I've never really been super happy with most of our videos. There's some that I think are pretty good, but this one actually, like, we were very hands-on with it. We were very hands-on with the editing and everything else. So I think turned out pretty good.
Killer, I love it. Carbonized is next.
This one was written by our guitar player, Sebastian Phillips, also of Noisem. I'm always trying to get him to write more stuff because before he joined the band, I was a big Noisem fan. And we had a lot of, I guess, as we'll find out going through these songs, we had a lot of guest writers and a lot of collaborative songwriting on this album. So, I kind of got to do my like editor-in-chief thing, where everything came across my desk and I was like, well, this is great, but let's blah, blah, blah. This song, I think, was the only one that came in and I was like, okay, cool. Well, this one's done. All right, let's write some lyrics and move on. And Ross and I were talking about the lyrics, and Sebastian is really, it's very un-Californian of us, I suppose, but he's the only stoner in the band. So Ross is like, well, we should do some sort of like stoner type lyric. And I was like, yeah, like, we did Blazing Corpse back on the first record. And he's like, yeah, well, let's make a song just about smoking corpses. And so he kind of started the lyrical ball rolling. So this one's very collaborative. And it's also going to be a real bitch to play live because it's fucking really fast. But hey, we're going to try it in a couple weeks and see what happens.
There it is. The tour is coming soon. We'll talk about that also. I love that editor-in-chief comment. So many good things here. I'm going to be quoting this for a while. But I have like the philosophy with my team that I let them write and then I try to edit as little as I have to. Right. And it sounds like that's the same approach for you.
Well, I was before I got into metal, I was a comic book guy, and I still am. And Stan Lee, a lot of what he did in the early Marvel stuff is basically just, okay, the villain is the Scorpion, and then there comes the pages and he goes, well, this is great, we're gonna move this page over here, redraw that, okay, cool, I'm gonna slap some words in there, move along, all right, next Fantastic Four, whatever. And so I kind of got to channel a little bit of that on this record with the writing process.
That is so sick, dude. Rank and Defile, very clever title, is the next track.
You can tell it's a Ross lyric because it's very clever. It's immediately giving you the big, get it? Ross came with the music for this one and everything was put together really well as far as the arrangement. And then I kind of went in and tweaked some of the riffs a little bit. To my ears, you can definitely tell that it's a Ross song. And I mean that in a good way. This is another one that we're going to be playing live on this tour. It's got a good driving kind of easy to digest beat rather than just the whole time. I think it's a really catchy song, and Ross originally had some sort of like political metaphor thing in mind for the lyrics. And he sent the lyrics, and I was like, so am I just not getting this? Or he's like, no, it wasn't working. So I changed this into one of those like "We Like to Rock" songs that you enjoy so much. So thank you, Ross, for that, because I do like songs about how much we like to rock, but metaphorically speaking.
It worked for Motorhead and AC/DC and the Ramones. Can't be
Right?
bad. A very underrated word for the next title, lurid.
Yeah, lurid. Well, we were kind of the album title was up in the air, and the runner up title was lurid, shocking, and vile. I think we made the right decision ultimately, but that was, we were going to sort of go for like the Alarma, like the Mexican newspaper kind of thing. And anyway, but we didn't do that. This song is one of mine, or it's my attempt anyway, at doing like a throwback to almost like the mid 90s stuff that we used to do. Some of the tempos that we did on like the split CD with Hemdale way back, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. They were really fucking fast. I mean, like 250 beats per minute, for people that are into counting, that sort of thing. So I was just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'm like, this is a pretty good riff. I'm like, what if we just played it really, really fast? And then all of a sudden, as soon as I got into that tempo, then the rest of the song kind of wrote itself. And it's sort of one of my, you look into the abyss and the abyss looks back into you type songs about people's obsession with serial killers and such. So that's one of my sort of recurring themes. Yeah, so that's that one.
Nice. Undertaking the Overkilled is next. I had to look twice to make sure I didn't say it wrong.
Right. That's my idea of being clever right there with that title. What's the over under on that the song title is gonna be some sort of pun. I was over and over. I don't know if you've ever seen Airplane, but anyway. So this is when we get into side two, which is where we had a bunch of our former members come in and present songs to us that we then worked out. This one is by our old bass player, guitar player, man of all trades, Leon Del Muerte, who of course went on to play in Impaled and Murder Construct and Nails and a bunch of other stuff that I'm forgetting. Anyway, Leon's been, one of my best friends since the 90s. And, I was always trying to get him to write more riffs back in the day. And then like now apparently it was easy because he was just like, here's a song. I was like, oh, this is great. I think he said that I made his song a little bit more epic. And I was like, well, I guess that sort of tracks. But I think this is a great tune. I really like it a lot. That middle riff has almost like a Demolic sort of queasy, like not quite on time feel to it that I really enjoy. And lyrically, this one's not so different from the last song and the whole, looking into the abyss that looks back into you thing. But this is more just about how people sort of become desensitized to violence and are able to look at people as commodities or categories that are dehumanized, and so they don't really give a fuck when violence happens to them, and in fact sometimes they're actively cheering it on, which is something that we see all the time here in the United States. You look across the street and you're like, fuck that guy, he doesn't believe what I believe, he needs to fucking get shot and whatever. So I think that's it's horror stuff, so I write about what scares me.
Real people are scarier in most cases than anything you could think of along the horror spectrum, but I digress. Everybody knows that already. Necrotica is next.
This is continuing with the former member writing credits section of the album. This was written by our old guitar player, Mike Beams, who was on the first three records. He wrote I think 2 songs on the second and third record. And he also wrote, if you've checked out the new Mortuous album, Upon Desolation, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. He is the primary songwriter on the record, even though he has health issues that don't allow him to play live with the band. But the record is amazing and people seem to really like it, which I love it. And it's like spending time with an old buddy listening to it. Anyway, buy our album first, but then buy that one. Mike has always been like a total stream of consciousness writer. So he sent me this song that was just like 20 riffs and all these different ideas. And I was like, fuck, there's like 4 songs worth of material here. So I kind of, try to break it down into the pieces that made sense to me and then, break it apart and then put it back together. And it's one of my favorite songs on the record because I just really realized how much I missed playing this dude's riffs. And this is another one we're playing live. Ross challenged me to write a necrophiliac song that was not gratuitously offensive, and he's like, give me some romance. So I try to give some romance with this one.
Love will fuck you up, but I will say make you do fucked up things. But great to hear that you're allow that kind of freedom in your band and your trust. Shout out to Matt and Mike and Mortuous. I rock my Mortuous shirt all over the city. We saw them together at that autopsy show,
right,
with Ghoul. That was a sick show. And hot that day. It was East Bay, so hot. I don't know why. Anyway, No Headstone Unturned is the next track.
Okay, this one was penned by our old also guitar player and bass player, Bud Burke. Bud did all the touring for the first 3 albums. He played on An Enemy's Destiny. He played on Necrocracy and Death Revenge. He's an amazing guitar player and just a lovely guy. One of the things that I love about jamming with Bud is that Bud, he just doesn't really care about much. He like really doesn't care. Like, I was, we'd be on tour and he's just like, I don't know, man. All right. I'd be like, oh yeah, here's your copy of the record. He's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, what happened to it? He's like, oh, some kid wanted it. So I just like gave it to him. I was like, you just gave it to him? That's pretty cool. He's beyond down to earth. And the first riff he wrote while it was like during the Death Revenge writing era, and it just didn't fit on any of the songs. So that was a really good starting point. And this one is, it started out as being a song about like, just going on a rampage in a graveyard and desecrating a bunch of graves and smashing coffins and stuff. And then it sort of turned metaphorical into like, why we need to, tear down Confederate monuments and also just our own sacred cows of the past, or else we're going to be, intellectually and ideologically deceased.
Very well said. Very well said. And then what I feel like the last 2 tracks, they seem related somehow to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Defecated and Disgusted just seem like they had to go together.
Yeah, I was kind of like, Ross wrote the lyrics for Defecated, and I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just taking each song individually, and I was like, there's a lot of ED songs on this, not erectile dysfunction, but verb past tense. I was like, shit, maybe by the time I kind of realized it was too late. Disgusted was a song written by Matt Widener, who I mentioned earlier. He played bass for us back in the mid 90s, and he was really instrumental. Him and Mike Beam was really a couple of years apart, but we're really instrumental in kind of getting myself and Cole and Ross to like actually play the instruments correctly. So I think they both deserve a lot of credit as far as that goes, or blame. And so he wrote the song, and he's a very eccentric and strange guy, and it was a very eccentric and strange song, and I think I sort of dumbed it down a little bit to work within our sort of aesthetic. But that middle section is very weird with the guitar solos. I don't think I think it makes sense, but it's really like pretty far afield harmonically of anything that we would do, which is why I really love it. And it's got that little volume swell thing that is very him, which I think it's cool because it's stuff that I wouldn't have thought of. Lyrically, Ross wrote this one, and it's about sort of holding somebody captive and slowly cannibalizing them, and then in their presence, after making them watch you eat like their calf or their forearm or whatever sort of non-essential muscle group, then you shit out, then you take a shit in front of them, and it's like they're seeing their remains having been digested and ultimately defecated. So full circle. So yeah, it's just a 14-year-old like what's grosser than gross kind of thing. It's great.
I feel like it wouldn't be out of place on a Travis Ryan pen song either.
Right.
Cattle. It's like right up his alley also. Right. And all of us. We're all It's all of our jams. Hey, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. As we start to wrap this up, I always end with a wild card question. I know you guys got the tour. We'll link everything in the description and
Killer.
share and promote all that stuff. A lot of stuff going on for the next year, I'm sure, with this band. Just because it's Halloween time and it's my favorite time of the year, and I'm sure yours too. What is your favorite Halloween or slasher or monster movie?
Slasher or monster? I mean, it's kind of weird because I was always more of like a zombie guy than a slasher guy, people were like really upset about the new Halloween movie. I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of only liked 1 and 3. Like I've only seen, I think, like 2 Jason movies. But I was very into like, I guess Zombie 2, the Fulci movie, or like The Beyond. As far as like slashers, more like the Argento side, like Tenebrae was a really good one. My favorites are still probably like Reanimator, Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw, Dead Alive. I mean, all of which are heavily reflected in our lyrical content. That's kind of where that that 70s, 80s extreme over the top gore that also is not afraid to sort of have a sense of humor about itself. That's kind of like that's our whole jam right there.
That's the Venn diagram of where Exhumed lives.
Absolutely.
Nothing really ever prepares you again and again. I feel like one of those things, one of those shocks that I still get every time I see Chainsaw Massacre. That just like getting hung on a hook, just to my brain, just tingles something weird inside of me. I probably shouldn't talk much about publicly because I'm gonna get in trouble. But like, yeah, just that kind of thing, or the Argento stuff and the Fulci stuff are unbelievably smart and clever and gory and fun.
Yeah.
And
I
those
think
things are missing. I didn't hate the Halloween movie. I knew what movie I was going to see these last
right.
three movies. And if you didn't know what movie you were going to see, again, it's like, again, I expected this. And it's like, well, maybe, I don't know where your expectations are in 2022 for a Halloween movie. But anywho, I didn't hate it. I liked it. That's
Well,
me.
cool.
Matt, man, it's always just a pleasure to hang with you and chop it up. I really appreciate you. Best of luck. Congratulations on this new record today. Go
Thank
celebrate
you.
with the guys. And thanks for spending some time with Ghost Cult.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, man. All right. We'll see you in the Bay.